Hey, speaking of hair, let's bring in the guy that has dominated that game for quite a long time. Blaine Fowler, dual threat analyst, college football and basketball insider on BYUtv. Blaine, welcome back to the show.
Guys, I miss you guys. Since we haven't been able to spend every day together like at the WCC, I'm feeling like I'm going to just come down there next week and just be in studio just because I miss you guys.
That would be awesome.
We will always welcome you, Blaine. Always welcome you, and the hair. Let's start with. By
the way, my hair has never been 8 and 5. It's always had. My hair has had 10 wins every season for 27 seasons.
But you need to go to the next level and get New Year's 6 hair, right? I think it's in that level.
I have to get to New Year's Day Bowl. That's all there is to it. So I got to do something. I don't know.
Blaine Fowler.
Transition out of that,
Spencer. Guys tell me, McCann and Lemon, those guys, they tell me I got to diet. And I'm like, diet? Why would I diet? Like, I hardly have any gray. And they're like, hey, if you want to get to New Year's Day 6 with your hair, you're probably going to have to start dieting.
You got to mix it up.
Everybody wishes they had hair like Blaine Fowler. It's just the truth. Let's start with what Brett McMurphy told us, ESPN College Football Insider, last week. He said BYU, other than the money, is a Power 5 football program. That coming on the heels of the SEC saying we're going to consider them as a Power 5 equivalent in our non-conference scheduling requirement. The ACC just recently did that as well. And then the Cougars pick up a home-and-home with Mississippi State, a team that was ranked number 1 last season. So where do you stand on that? Where is BYU as a P5 in your mind, Blaine?
I agree 100% with what he said, and that is, from a scheduling perspective, especially as you look at next year and beyond, they're playing schedules that are equivalent of anything anybody's playing in the Pac-12 or in the Big 12. You name it, they're playing that kind of schedule. From a national recognition standpoint, they're nationally recognized at a higher level than half the teams in the P5 conferences. So the lower half of most of those conferences are not as good a programs as BYU. I mean, think about it. Kansas in basketball, phenomenal. How about football?
Yeah.
Kansas is not the equivalent of BYU in football. So BYU would be in the upper third of most of P5 leagues. So from that perspective, from national interest, from all of that ability to compete, they're on that level. But here's the deal. We need to get them into the P5 conference for 2 reasons. We need late season home scheduling. So we need to be able to get the schools that BYU's playing on the road early in the season into Provo late in the season, so there's a ton of home interest at the end of the year. And they need the dollars that are associated with being in a P5 conference. Other than those 2 things, if things are going pretty well, if you ask me, I think Tom Holmoe's done an unbelievable job of scheduling moving forward, especially, but up to this point. And he told us it was going to take a couple of years. Well, here we are, and you look at the schedule next year, and we're there. I just wish it was easier for Tom. And when you're in a league, now all of a sudden you don't even worry about October, November to schedule, and you're getting big teams coming into your place every year, and that's the only difference right now.
When you look at independence, how does BYU continue to maximize independence in your opinion? What are the next step or 2?
Well, if they could get some – I like what they've done. Utah State, they're playing at the end of the year last year. That helps. Even though that's not a P5 conference, it's an in-state rival, so it's a game of interest at the end of the year. To me, if they're going to stay in independence, then Tom needs to continue to leverage the relationships that he's built, and they need to get some type of arrangement to have some teams later in the season. And maybe they get Boise State, they can play late in the season. Maybe they get one Pac-12 team when USC's playing Notre Dame and some of those things are going on to play late in the season. I still don't understand why Utah can't make that happen, and they should be able to make it happen. To me, it's an unwillingness on their part to make it happen, because if the league is willing to help SC do it and help
Stanford,
and they let Stanford do it, then why can't they allow Utah, which is a long-term rivalry with BYU, schedule a home-and-home with BYU late in the season? And so if BYU is going to stay independent, if P5 doesn't happen anytime soon, I mean, those are the things that have to be different. And as Utah, as a part, they're really an in-state partner, which they should be. Then that game needs to be late in the season. You keep Utah State late in the season. You have Boise State late in the season. And now all of a sudden that late season schedule looks fine, and you're okay in independence.
Blaine Fowler with us on BYU Sports Nation, breaking down BYU in that P5 conversation right now after the SEC says, yeah, we're going to count BYU as a P5 scheduling P5 equivalent in the non-conference scheduling agreement. We've talked about several critical factors that go into being a P5, Blaine, starting with money, conference affiliation, national exposure, scheduling, bowl game access. Which of those do you feel is the most important part of being a P5 school?
Well, I think late season scheduling and the dollars are the two most important things. Because I think BYU, look, if they win 11 games last year, they're in a New Year's Six bowl. So they can play into a big bowl if they win enough games, regardless of schedule. And everybody overrates bowl access. Hey, if you finish fourth in the Pac-12, the bowl game you're going to is not any better than the bowl game BYU is going to. Once you're in the Las Vegas Bowl, San Francisco Bowl, Sun Bowl, once you're out of that New Year's Day Six, does it really matter what bowl game you go to, other than to go have a good reward and play an intersectional type of a game? I think that's way overrated to me, because when you get down, you're not in the top three in those big leagues. Utah's bowl game last year isn't any better than BYU's bowl game last year. If you're not in that top conversation, and BYU, as an independent, has the ability to play in the New Year's Six situation. So that's about winning games with a good schedule, and that's about being ranked with a good schedule. So to me, it's late season scheduling and the dollars, not necessarily access to bowls.
We just had Mitch Matthews on the show, and he said that it feels like the 2009 spring practices. The intensity is high, leadership is good. He's liking what he's seeing. From what you've seen of spring ball, what do you think so far?
Well, first off, let me tell you, I went to the entire practice from the minute they walked into the building till they left the building on Friday. And Mitch Matthews dominated. He stood out so much to me in practice. I was like, holy cow, this guy is not just looking good. He's dominating. And I tried to, as I'm watching him in practice, I'm going, what is the difference this year with Mitch? And I know you guys just had him on, and he talked about he feels bigger and stronger and faster. That's all fine. His attention to detail, to me, as I'm watching his route running right now, is so good. You combine that with, athletically, he's superior. He's 6'6". He runs like a deer, and he's very agile. So he has good moves. To me now, to go to the next level, to be a big-time NFL guy, your route running has to be so good that even against a really good defensive back in press coverage, you're going to get open. And I'm watching him do the little things. He started on a post route. The DB had jumped that post route, and he just stemmed up the field 2 steps, created a little separation, then went back to the post. And I think it was Christian throwing to him, bam, right down the middle of the field, touchdown. I'm going, wow, that was so precise with what he did. And so I think his work ethic and understanding route running is at a whole new level. And you combine that with him being big, strong, and fast, and you've got yourself an elite-level receiver this year. And he dominated practice the other day. It was so fun to watch him.
Blaine Fowler talking about Mitch Matthews dominating spring practice. We are on the topic of BYU and spring ball. And we need to bring up defense, Blaine. As good as Mitch was on offense, let's talk about Bronco Mendenhall taking back over the defense. How will they be better this fall compared to last year?
So here's what, and I got to listen to, because Jerem taught me how to stream the show, so I got to listen to Mitch's. I can be taught even though I'm 51 years old. I listened to Mitch talk about them being younger, and so here's what I'm seeing on that defense. I see younger guys that are buying in more to the concept of what they're doing, the whole concept of defense. And you guys know, you guys talk to us, and you're there in the studio, and you watched our show after further review. Last year, we were in week 12 and 13, and Brian Logan and Dave Nixon, who are defensive experts, are still pointing out to us very common assignment errors in the secondary and in the backers. Okay? And what's going to be different this year is there's not as much experience, but you've got a whole group committed to do it exactly the way it's supposed to be done. And that's been the hallmark of top 10 BYU Bronco Mendenhall defenses in the past. Not unbelievable athleticism, but those guys will be exactly where they're supposed to be. They won't give up good plays, and they'll be good tacklers. And so I look at this secondary, and let me throw a name out there that nobody's even talking about. And he may not even start, but he's going to be a difference maker, and his name is Chris Badger. Here's why. Word has it from the guys that he knows the defense well enough to be an assistant coach if he needed to be. Like, outside of Bronco and Nick Howell, he may be the guy in the building that knows the defense better than anyone. So that's a huge advantage to a guy that's taken the time to learn that defense to such a level. And he's rotating in with the ones and the twos right now, that he's getting guys lined up. But here's where that guy pays off. When they're working out on their own in the summer, and they need a guy to make sure everybody knows what they're supposed to do in that secondary and where those backers are supposed to be, you basically have an assistant coach level guy out in the field leading and teaching those guys to be where they're supposed to be. So that's not a name a lot of people are talking about, but that's a guy that's going to make a difference whether he's on the field or not on the field next fall and how this team goes into fall with their preparation over the summer.
Blaine Fowler bringing it on BYU Sports Nation on a Monday. Not only does he have great hair, but he's got great insight as well. Blaine, we look forward to seeing you in person as soon as possible.
I think we're going to have to make it happen next week. I can't be separated from you guys. I'm getting separation anxiety.
If I had a nickel, man.
All right, man.
All right, thanks for the time, Blaine.
You bet. Talk to you later, guys.